So welcome everybody to another episode of the Brewmasters Club cast. Here is what you have to look forward to in tonight's episode. We just title it, I thought I had him.
I'm so glad that you know Star Fox that well, because we're going to dominate this conversation with Star Fox.
I thought it was a gunner.
I thought it was a gunner. Fantastic.
Bro, saving your hide, Slip.
Are you quoting it?
Yeah.
Uncle Andros.
Yeah.
do a loop to get through.
Try a somersault. Your daddy screamed real good.
Okay. Little piggy.
Hell yeah.
Pigma.
Yeah, Pigma.
But geez Louise, this is the most useless knowledge I've ever retained. And I'm a huge fan of all of it.
Check your diffuser.
Yeah.
Falco's like, yeah, Falco here. I'm fine.
It's your G diffuser, bro.
Yeah, the G diffuser.
There it is. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Good luck. You literally tailored it to Donnie. Yeah. Got you little freak. Oh, dude, how about this one? Ooh, huge fan of this one. Step on the gas. Step on the gas. That was the train all day, bro. Who doesn't yell at Slippy? Slippy's the most pointless motherfucker in that whole thing.
Stick to the pond, Froggy.
I think I'm just going to start telling people that. I'm going to start telling people stick to the pond, Froggy.
Oh, gee, okay, we're saved by the fox.
That guy's such a dick.
I know.
Dick, like, what an asshole. He was just, like, for no reason. Like, yeah, he did save your ass.
At the end, he's like, you're okay, man.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Everyone at home's like, nope, this sucks.
Foxy? I don't know. I can't.
You get that shit right the fuck out of here. Quick throw in right here. I actually have access to an ice cream machine. If It's a dongle-wee.
It's a dongle-wee. I'm getting so goddamn sick and tired of them making these little things. So Big Dick Shiggy came walking down the hall, right? And he was like,
I tried to make the most sour face as possible. I was like, this is right shit.
It translates really well over audio, by the way.
Oh, okay, great. Get a little of this.
And a one, a two.
Oh, don't do it like a Tootsie Roll, you son of a bitch.
That's the center of a Tootsie Pop.
Yeah.
A two. First off, before we go on, just one more tangent. How does an owl eat a Tootsie Pop, right? I mean, think about it.
With his luscious lips that he doesn't own?
They don't have lips, and they don't have, like, saliva, right? Like, they just have a dry, nasty tongue, and they have a sharp razor beak, right? So imagine trying to, like, scrape off. Sounds terrible to me, but yeah, I'm not an owl, and I don't really like Tootsie Pops. So,
wait, you're not an owl?
Whoa!
I'm an owl. Dane, are you an owl?
Are we?
Who are you talking about?
All right, and on that note, we are starting. Ready? And one. No, I'm just kidding. All right,
do it again. Rip it live.
We are live. We've
do it.
Live.
You won't continue to be live.
One, a two, a three.
This is a restricted area. Is this a drill or something? Negative. This is Victor. Fine by me. I hate drill. You crazy mother.
Welcome to the official podcast of the Brewmasters Club, Craft Brews and Geek News. Sit back, pour yourself a pint, and let's get into it. Now here's the founder of the Brewmasters Club and your host, Donnie Gallagher.
Welcome, craft beer fans. This is the official podcast of the Brewmasters Club. My name is Donnie. I'm joined by two, but probably one more late, kind, nice gentleman here that we call the panel of the Brewmasters Club. We, like I said, are the official Brewmasters Club podcast, and we're here to bring you craft brews and geek news, all that we can. We've got a fully packed show and a short time span to do so. First off, let me introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Lausman. How are you, sir?
Doing amazing. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Can't wait.
Awesome. That's great.
Get the show started.
We just did. All right. So next,
start it again.
No. Next is
a third time.
Mr. Dane. How are you, sir?
Yeah, Peppy here. All systems go.
Jesus Christ. So as Dane is alluding to, we've got a lot of starry hopes that starry dreams, and I'm Foxy. I don't know. I can't.
You get that shit right the fuck out of here.
As we start off every episode, we always like to talk about our brews first because that just whets the palate for more. Mr. Lossman, as you walked up, I noticed that you had a sixer with you. Would you like to explain to us kind of what you had going on for this evening?
Oh, you mean this thing? This is nothing. Actually, I was actually going back to a brew that I've tried in the past. I went back to the Screamin' Reels.
Screamin' Reels
by Saltwater Brewery.
Okay.
Huge fan of it. Tried it in the past. Probably gave it a bad rap, if I'm honest. It's got a lot of bitters. They are extremely bitter on the tail end of this beer, but it's an IPA. It's 7%. It was sold in Publix, so that was like check. That's all I need, and went for it again. Love it still, but man, I've never had an IPA so bitter. It just sort of finishes that weird kind of bitter, but good for one of those kind of eventual on and off again type of beers where every once in a while I get in the mood and I'll be like, all right, let's get something real bitter, real kind of hoppy. Let's go for that. And good beer.
Good. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right, and Dane, I think that that you were sitting out this evening for drinking wise. Okay.
Yep.
That's all right. And I think Ryan will bring something fun to the party when he decides to join us and grace us with his presence. But until then, what I had it's like Laos. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's the double IPA from Marker 48, and it was the one that was aged 48 feet underwater. I had another bottle of it from the party that we had, or the bottle that the brewery actually gave to us, I don't know, 3 months ago. So I was just trying it out, and it still holds up. It's definitely a fantastic double IPA. 72-degree water is where it was fermenting in a barrel, 50 feet underwater. You really can't mess with it, but it's an Imperial IPA, and we've talked about it before. Shouts out to Marker 48 again for making a fantastic product that does hold up. So thank you for that. That's all I had for beer.
Donnie, quick pause. You should probably check your text messages. Ryan's not coming.
All right. We're not going to shit talk Ryan while we're doing the podcast because there were some things to talk about. So that's all right, though. We're still going to make it to the timeline. For the first one is that I really want to talk about, just to hint on the AB situation that we found. It leads into the secondary story. So this is Anheuser-Busch, basically their new marketing campaign, which we all are well aware of, how they try to purchase and snatch up a bunch of small craft breweries so that eventually you don't know what's a craft brewery and what is a craft brewery. Or what is not, excuse me. So another way that they're doing this is they actually acquired I think it's called Northern Brewer, which is the largest brewing supply store in the nation. So if you're online and you're buying products from Northern Brewer, odds are you're buying brewing products from Anheuser-Busch, which is fine. They clearly know how to brew beer and whatnot, but they're releasing products like the Goose Islands and the Assylian Brewing Company and Golden Road Brewing, where you have kits so you can actually brew those beers at home, which again, great, fantastic. We're all about that. But by doing so, you're purchasing the product, which is technically sold by AB, so that when you're done with the product, you go back and actually buy more of their products. So it's another kind of a tactic that you can try to trick people into thinking they're drinking a craft beer when in reality they're drinking something that's an AB product. So it's just something we wanted to bring to everybody's attention because as one of our ex-podcast members was a home brewer, so we want him to to be clear that just again be mindful of what you're buying and what you're picking up. What do you guys think about that as a tactic? I mean, that's a long round robin way to go after it, but damn if it probably doesn't work.
So their plan is to buy everybody else and then be like, aha. How are you going to outsell that?
Look at me now.
Yeah. I mean, I love AB, so I'm still hip to it, but yet it does sort of blur the lines. I mean, that's kind of crazy at this point because now it's like, well, what is craft? No one knows.
Well, I mean, they do know.
Yeah, no one knows.
No,
It'll be fine.
So that's that thing. But the next thing that we kind of lead into from that, I think, again, it's just kind of it's just another tactic. So that's fine if that's how they want to approach it. But again, I think that makes sense. Like if you were making soda or ice cream or whatever, you're like we went to a pool party for a 2-year-old, believe it or not, and there was a ice cream machine maker, and they were making Dole Whip, right? And they were like, oh, this tastes like Dole Whip. This is great. Dole Whip is awesome, and this thing you can make it now. It's great. But Dole Whip is an exclusive product that's made by Disney World in the Magic Kingdom. So essentially, they were making a product to taste like the Dole Whip at Magic Kingdom. So the next time that any one of the 30 people that were at this party went to the Magic Kingdom, what are they going to do? They're going to buy a Dole Whip and they're going to say, hey, this tastes just like it, or this tastes very different, whatever. So I think that's what we do, because when I make beer, right, we made a Sierra Nevada, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy a 6-pack Sierra Nevada and try it and see if they actually taste similar. I mean, it's kind of the where you start, AB's trying to get you to drink what they're putting out, and however they want to put it out is how you'll consume it. It's just shady to me.
Quick throw in right here. I actually have access to an ice cream machine. If we want to I mean, I'm going to throw it out there. We're actually getting rid of it, but no fake. I've got access to the chocolate and the swirl with like the 3 nozzles. It's a real thing.
So many nozzles, man.
But
okay.
Yeah. I see where you're going with that. You're going to chocolate and vanilla and then Chanela.
Anyway, all right. So that was that one. So the next one, which again, segue right into this next story. So how can you tell if your craft beer is a craft beer? Oh, I don't know. You can look for the Certified Brewers Association Independent Craft logo. So this is a logo that should be slapped on most craft beers. I say most because of the 5,300 plus breweries that are out there right now in the United States, 3,800 of them are members of the Brewers Association. So it would assume that's about 70%. So one could assume that every one of those brewers now has access to this logo. And this logo can be slapped on a can or a bottle or whatever. And it basically shows you as the consumer, hey, this is an independent craft beer. And this beer is printed with this logo because of the rights to use so. So you won't see it on Goose Island or Stella's or Budweiser or Guinness or whatever it may be. In fact, Jim Koch and the guys over at Boston Beer Company are approaching that 2 million barrel limit. So pretty soon, as in the next year or so, they're going to be beyond the scope of what's considered a craft beer, which is interesting. But this logo has kind of an upside down bottle, right? And it's real skinny and it's trying to save can space, and I get it. And it's basically, again, just stating that this is an independent craft brewer. But this logo itself is already getting torn apart because of the way that it's presented. This is not coming from me, but coming from an independent source. The opinion of the Brewers Association is that they are quick to act or react and slow to do research and actually put things thoughtfully in motion. Example that I read from this article. The logo itself uses a beer bottle, which is upside down. Get it. The upside down bottle symbolizes the fact that craft beer has really turned the brewery or the beer industry or the beverage industry upside down, right? Makes perfect sense. Sure. But they use a glass bottle. So a home brewer would use a glass bottle because the glass bottle be recycled from Sam Adams or from Budweiser or somewhere else. But the independent craft brewers are 95% cans, not bottles, right? So there's one thing that's kind of different about this. Secondly, the word independent is broken up independently into 4 different chunks, including the word craft, which again doesn't symbolize one cohesive unit. It more says it's breaking it up against everything else. Not to mention the fact that they push this out so fast with such little control that, again, they're pushing out to 70% of the national breweries, 5,300. But they're not considering the fact that maybe as an independent brewer, you want other people to use it that are outside your organization. So basically, you have to be a member of this big association to be considered a small craft brewery. So there's a number of conflictions here. I think this is maybe like a first draft. I don't know, but what do you guys think about that from the big little guys trying to take back a large piece of small pie?
I like it. I mean, it helps, people who like beer care about who makes it.
And they don't know. And they don't know. That's the thing that I like about this. Yeah.
So there's a ton of beer out there. And like you said, Donnie, a lot of people don't know if it's craft beer or not. So I think this logo,
how would they,
Yeah, this logo in particular, if people like really dig deep into it, then they'll say, well, this kind of is contradicting. But to the normal like average Joe who enjoys craft beer, it's gonna be like, okay, cool, cool symbol. I don't really know what it means, but I now know that that's a craft beer, but I don't really care about what the symbol symbolizes.
And
to
I
me,
do think it'll catch on. I think it'll catch on over time. But I totally agree with you at first. Like it's a nice little shining light to be like, oh, okay, this is different than Coors Light. Great.
Yeah.
But Lost Man?
Yeah, so this kind of heralds back. I know it's not going to be there 100%, but this kind of heralds back to something that kind of upset me recently. So I went to take my girlfriend on a date, and we went to a Japanese steakhouse kind of place. They served Kirin, Ichiban, and then they served Sapporo, and that's all good. And they served a bunch of other like really cool like premium Japanese beers, and it was really just a great experience, and all that was fun. And then like I ordered a Sapporo or Sapporo, however you want to pronounce that, and just looking at the label, I knew what I was getting into, but just looking at the label, I'm like, oh, made in New York. And they were like, oh, genuine Japanese, everything. And I was like, so you're telling me, I'm like, all this is made actually in, I was like, and the beer is actually made in the U.S. I'm like, so basically I'm buying the name. I'm like, since when did Japanese food become Nike? I'm like, I don't know. How did that happen? Like, I literally was going to have like sushi and a beer, and it turned into like 100% American made. Like, okay, fine, that's cool. So I kind of feel like that with this whole situation. I kind of feel like I'm being led to, I'm going down one road, or marketing wise, and all of a sudden I've arrived somewhere else where somebody else made it, and it's nothing like I imagined originally.
I totally agree with you. The thing is, and we'll talk about it in a moment, about the whole Sapporo Japanese beer thing. But I mean, that's how most of the beer is. And when you get served a beer at a restaurant, still you're not going to see it unless they give you the can, which is probably unlikely. But I think it's a step in the right direction. I just think that, of course, they need to really just think about the image and kind of what it's putting out there, instead of, because what it sounds like when you put it out poorly and quickly like that, it almost sounds like you're trying to say, well, look at us. You need to be a part of this organization if you think you're going to be anything, or yada, yada, yada. And that's a big beer mentality, not a, hey, let's look out for the little guy mentality. So I get it. Totally get their overall structure. Execution may have been a little poor right away. Anything else on that, boys? All right. Well, we're moving on because we have a ton to talk about. Well, first off, did you guys see Dane? I'm sure you did. And this is fine that Ryan Marino probably can't be here for this because he's honestly doesn't follow this stuff. But did you see the what was released for the new Zelda DLC?
Like a new?
Well, because what was released was they basically went through the last 5 days ago. They started
like a countdown.
On Zelda.com, they started a countdown where they kind of went through each individual piece of what's going to be released. Guess when? Tonight. Yep, in about 3 hours.
Yesterday.
Which is free. Nope, wrong. Which is sick. Okay. Totally sick. They first explained the Korok mask and the Phantom armor, of course. They did the Twilight Medina's helmet, and then they did my two favorite, which is the Tingle outfit. And the Majora's mask. Yeah, man. So I just wanted to spend a few minutes because we are so close to this DLC. Are you going to stay up till midnight and try and actually? You have to work like immediately after this. So.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Are you going to wait? Really?
No, I won't.
I might just wait.
Yeah, ask me in 2 days.
Okay, I'll ask you in 2 days. I might just wait for. I mean, I don't know. I can't. It's not like I can really do anything about it. I got to go work too tomorrow. But yeah, it looks sick. So they finally gave us some actual details on these things and what they're gonna do and how they're gonna control. Dane, which one was your favorite? Which one do you want to explain? Because I freaking love all of them. I'm so stoked about them.
Let's talk about the Tingle suit, man. What's going on with this thing?
You talk about the Tingle suit. And I'll handle Majora's Mask. So did you read any of the details on that? So essentially,
what can I say about Tingle?
Well, if you read the article, like it shows Tingle in like a very different light. Because if you don't know who Tingle is, he's like the weirdest looking little elf guy that they ever brought into the franchise, and whatever that may be. For some odd reason, he's made it this far into the Breath of the Wild, which is awesome.
Yeah.
He's definitely not your typical character. And if you were going to go through a game with him as a main character, it would be a crap-ass game. But he's definitely like part of Hyrule, right? He's part of Zelda, and that's who he is. So if you wear all three pieces of the outfit, they give you a night speed up. So I would assume what that means is that you can run faster at night, because that's what you have to do, I guess. I don't know. Again, this is DLC for Breath of Wild, so if you don't feel like paying $20 to get a year's worth of new content, then you know what? That's fine. That's all good. It's okay. But it is kind of crazy. Do you have anything else on the Tingle suit?
It just looks like absurd.
looks awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool things. I think I don't really read too much, but if they'll dive into the history of certain items, that's kind of cool.
And they do. I think they will probably more in the game. I hope at least. But in this article, they give you a good bit of detail as to, and like for example, the mask, Majora's Mask. So you acquire it in the Master Trials, and if you equip it, you get this effect of like making minor enemies, like the Bokoblins and the Moblins, and the stall enemies think that Link is part of their group, so they won't attack Link, which is pretty cool. Basically, the guys at Nintendo said if you're not good at combat, I would recommend you check this mask out. And the picture they showed too is pretty cool. Like it's just Link standing in the middle of a bunch of Bokoblins, and they're like, "We're all friends," and that's fine. So that sounds fine. And this is clearly brought over from Majora's Mask, which was the second version or second iteration of
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time, yeah, Ocarina of Time, solid, just a solid all around game. So. I'm all about it, and the mask looks awesome, and I can't wait to go find it and to run around with it. So,
yeah.
So honestly, I feel like the Korok mask again and all that stuff. We could talk about this for days on end. It just really looks fun. So I can't wait. But we won't kill all of our time on that because we have even bigger news. Oh my God! Right? So Zelda drops tomorrow. 2 days ago, well, tonight, I guess, 2 days, maybe 1.5 days ago, the SNES Classic Mini drops. Holy shit, right? Like, hey, I wish there was a giant video game conference where we could drop news like this that was happening sometime soon. Oh, wait a second. That was 2 weeks ago. and so now Nintendo wants to keep this PR bundle rolling and drop the SNES Mini Classic. So good on them, man. Cool, whatever. We called this, what, the day the NES Classic came out? I mean, or was announced? I mean, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Maybe rocket surgery.
It could be rocket surgery, but, I mean, who the hell didn't know this was coming? Who the hell besides Ryan didn't know this wasn't coming out?
Probably just Ryan. Yeah, he was sitting in his van down by the river, and he was like, man, you know what? I bet it's just Dragon Ball Z from here on out. Oh, he's not here to defend himself either. That's great.
Oh, man.
He's just like, it's smooth sailing until the next Dragon Ball is found. And the rest of the world's like, the fuck's this guy going on about?
Oh.
So,
sorry, bud.
That's all right. So much to Ryan's unknowingness or whatever. He's came up a lot in this episode for not being in this episode.
More so than when he is in this episode.
That's true, especially in this part of the episode. But anyways, we'll give you a special link here that you can actually go on and pre-order the SNES, Jesus Christ, the Super Nintendo Classic, if you want to.
The SNES?
The SNES, exactly. Spoiler alert, it's snes.brewmasters.club. Visit that link, and you can pre-order yours from Amazon anytime you want to.
Snap.
Well, we're coming up on that again. Let's get into it first. Again, rewind for those of the Ryans out there. The NES Mini basically was this fantastical device where they made 6 of them, and they released them for $60 each. And lo and behold, they sold out of them everywhere. And now people are selling them on eBay for $300, $400, $500, which is absolutely ridiculous. Fast forward to 2017, after E3, now we've got the SNES Classic Mini. So this is, again, a Super Nintendo version that comes with 21 games, and it will be released on September 29th, 2017. Fantastic. I am absolutely stoked about it. I wasn't at first, and this is where the conversation starts because I'm really getting very sick of this. Nintendo says, hey, we're going to launch a thing, but sorry, Richard, you can't buy the thing. Why on earth do they make these things and then not have enough things to make?
Stock.
Right? No stock. I have a theory that I actually heard from a different podcast called the Filthy Casuals video game podcast. They were talking about how they heard from someone in the industry that the SNES or the NES was essentially made out of old Wii parts. Like they have a warehouse full of. Well, think about it, because they have a warehouse where they build Wiis, right? And the Wiis were discontinued for the Wii U. but they had this motherboard on them that could play the virtual console stuff like flawlessly, right? Because it did. And if you played any of those games on the virtual console on the Wii, it ran really well, and it was great, and it played the games and it handled it all perfectly. So if you look at the NES Classic, it's got the same contacts for the controllers, it's got the same games that the virtual console had, and it has the same kind of operating system that the virtual console had. So if you really look at it, it's the exact same thing. It's literally like a Wii packed into a little card-sized box of bits, and that's really all it is. I don't think that's too far-fetched. That was the first time I heard that on that podcast, The Filthy Casuals, but that's the first time I heard that, and I was actually pretty impressed with that theory because that could be pretty plausible.
So you're saying that it's kind of like a slightly narrow-minded version of the Wii that is a dongle.
Yep.
It's a dongle Wii?
It's a dongle Wii. It's a Wii dongle, yep.
Capital. Continue.
Well, I mean, because it really well could be, and that would also explain why they stopped making them, right? Because they got to a point where they're like, well, we can't mass produce these, so let's just stop it. And they were like, wow, like there's a huge following and like want for these things. Let's make another one, right? And that kind of, it's like these are these concepts where somebody in a boardroom is sitting there saying, oh, I could totally do this. And they say, okay, let's try it. Oh, it worked great, but now we're out of that stuff. Let's just stop. Oh my God, everybody wants it. What are we gonna do now? Let's make a SNES version. Let's make more. We'll make 12 this time instead of 6. I mean, I don't know, but
they gonna get it from Wii U.
I don't know. I don't
it's like
know.
Pet Cemetery. It's Wii Cemetery.
They just keep yanking shit out of it. So I'm gonna run through the games real fast, and we're gonna stop on one for a while because there's a good few talking points on it. But basically, Contra 3. Which I played Contra 1. It was an awesome game. Never played Contra 3, but I would assume that game is just as sick. Stop me if you guys want to talk about any of these. Donkey Kong Country, sick game. Love it. I could play that all day. In fact, I have it on my actual Super Nintendo that I have now. Earthbound, never played it. Final Fantasy 4. I think it's Final Fantasy 4 or 6. I heard it was 6, actually, but this just says Final Fantasy, so I don't know. F-Zero. I think Final Fantasy 6 is the one that's going to be on the SNES Classic. I'm not sure. Fun game, doesn't really hold up well now. Kirby Superstar, which I think is like several mini games inside of a Kirby. I don't really know. Again, I didn't play that, but I love Kirby. So if it's just a straight platformer, I'm good with that. Kirby's Dream Course, that's a Kirby golf game. Did you guys ever play that? Kirby's Golf Ball?
No.
That's awesome.
But I used to play Mario Golf like on the Game Boy, and it was fucking awesome. So hopefully it's like that. Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, definitely played the shit out of that game. That is amazing. Yep. I'm happy that's there. Mega Man X. I love Mega Man. I have the Mega Man flu, and I don't know if you guys do too. Basically, I play a little bit of Mega Man, so I get stuck, and I can't beat that part, and then I abandon Mega Man forever.
Yeah.
Never come back to it because it's just too
so hard.
Tough. It's so hard. The Secret of Mana, excuse me, which I think is the second one. I'm not sure. So that one, I've heard good things about it. Star Fox, of course, which is badass. And then they got Street Fighter 2, Turbo, Hyper Fighting, Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Mario Kart, sick. Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars. I played it once or twice. I couldn't get into it. Super Mario World, love that game. Play that frequently. Super Metroid, which is the second Metroid. It is insane. One of the best Metroid games to this day that's ever came out. Love it. Super Punch-Out, great, and Yoshi's Island, which is fine. Yoshi's Island's fine. There's one more game on this list of 21 games, and that is Star Fox number 2. What do you guys think about that? Never been released, Star Fox number 2.
Yeah, bring on the shenanigans, that one. I feel like I'm using the word shenanigans a lot today, but
yeah.
Maybe not on the cast, but in text. But yeah, so this game was canceled, never released.
So this game was complete. It was totally built by a guy named Dylan Cuthbert and his team over at Nintendo in Japan years and years ago, about 22 years ago at this point. And 2 days ago when Nintendo launched this, they basically said the never before seen Star Fox 2 is coming out on this SNES Classic, which I don't think the SNES Classic needed necessarily like a bomb to drop like this, but as I mentioned before, I'm getting so goddamn sick and tired of them making these little things and then selling them for $80 a piece and then selling a controller for $30 or whatever it may be, and then making another one next year. Like we all knew this was going to happen. But Star Fox 2, I got to say I'm back on board. I'm back on board now, and I don't know.
I just want that game.
I want that game real bad too, and I know you can get it on ROMs and stuff, but I want it on a Super Nintendo, and I want to play it. And I think that that it's got a lot of story behind it. And some of the story we actually got a chance to interact in this historic day that is Star Fox 2 being launched back on a system. I actually reached out to Dylan, the creator of the game, on Twitter, and we had a little conversation about it. And Laos, it was funny because you mentioned Japanese beer. Well, this is a guy from the UK that was a video game creator, damn near 25 years ago, that created, such titles like Star Fox and a whole bunch of other stuff. He's actually got a video game company now, Q Games. He started as well, which I think is actually the studio that created the game Pixel Junk. But he partnered with Star Fox for Nintendo to create the 64 remake and the Nintendo DS version. They were basically on the forefront of this technology, and they were tapped in to Super Nintendo in like 1995, right? Whenever it was about to be N64 time. What happened is that this game was the first to explore a 360 kind of 3D polygon gaming structure, which was very different from the rail shooter that was the original Star Fox. So it was one of the most technically impressive SNES games that ever came out, and they actually had to use a superior processor chip called the Super FX that would enable them to squeeze kind of 3D graphics built for a 2D console. So they had this thing all ready to go with a nice, pretty bow on it, right? And this is about 3 years before the Nintendo 64 came out. So Big Dick Shiggy came walking down the hall, right? And he was like, "Listen," which I've been told he does many times. But old Shigi Morimoto, he goes, "Hey man, other games are using polygons and 3D stuff. We really can't do Star Fox 2 because it just won't make sense. They're gonna just kill us." Which very well could have happened, because that was the PS1. The Sega Saturn was out. Again, N64 was coming in 97. I mean, they're only a few years away from that. So he basically, right there when it was bright and shining and ready to go, yanked the plug. Yeah, you fired. But it sucks because it brought things like 360 flying and the introduction of the tank vehicles and in all these new kind of pieces of the Star Fox universe that are still not only used in Star Fox but in many other games to date. It just would have been the first of its kind in a really crazy mass, concept of a game like this. So hats off to those guys. And I don't want to derail the whole conversation, but man, like I said, I'll get into it in a second. How cool, man. Like what a cool game. What a twisted story.
Yeah. Not only did they, stop everything, but they took some things from that game and put it in their N64 game, and it's a huge hit. Yeah, too funny.
I think it's sick, and it's just got such a fun story to it. Like they had a prototype in '95, and they were playing it at CES, and people were all psyched about it, and they were so stoked. We're like, the Sony PlayStation is probably gonna smoke this. So
yeah,
so they literally just pulled the plug on it, but. It just goes to show again, like we talk about with games and beers and everything, that the constant innovation and the constant, tweaking and the constant manipulation is kind of what we were all about. And we were, it's exciting to see the story, and it's exciting to kind of pursue that lust for anybody that makes anything, us included, making this podcast. We're trying to make fun, entertaining things happen, and we can't do it without things like Laos's innovative jokes and his just his fantastic ability. So
he's tried to make the most sour face as possible. I was like, this is right shit.
It translates really well over audio, by the way.
Oh, okay, great. Get a little of this one.
Did you get that target half off?
Yeah, there you go.
Laos, but no, back to your point about Sapporo. So when I was talking with Dylan about exactly, kind of what this was, and we said, hey, we'd love to get a couple minutes of your time, or at least know what your favorite beer was. Clearly the guy, the funniest part about this, that his whole team did not know about this until 2 days ago. And so when the announcement hit and he was getting calls and tweets and Facebook friends, and everybody's emailing him, calling him, he called up a bunch of his mates and they went out to the bar and they had a launch party for the damn game.
Yeah.
22 years after it had been completed and put under a shelf. So pat on your back, Dylan and team at the I think it was Argonaut Software at the time who developed the game. So good on you guys, and a well-deserved launch party. I think that's fantastic. But while we were talking to him on Twitter, he did give us some feedback here. He he's a big craft beer fan. So it's cool that he replied to us on and you can join the conversation too at Brewmasters Club on Twitter. He basically said that his favorite beer is tricky because there's so many good craft beer choices. So clearly he knew that we were looking for craft beer, which is good on him for looking that up. But he said out of the non-craft beer, he really likes Sapporo Black Label. Which it has to be on draft, which is what he said. He said, and he loves, various ales when he visits the UK, which he said real ales. So I'm assuming that he's calling Japanese beer made with rice that may not be, exactly a real beer in terms of his UK eyes. But I replied back, I like Sapporo when it comes to Japanese beer. When I go to a Kobe Steakhouse, that's what I drink. But it's good, man. It's good. And he's a good sport for playing with us. And that was, we just started that conversation 20 minutes ago. So that's good on him. And I know he's got a lot going on, but it was really nice of him to give us a shout. So if you want to talk to Dylan or you want to shout him out on Twitter, shouldn't be that hard to get a hold of. He seems like he's getting a lot of attention right now, and good on them. They deserve it. And it's been a long time. So I have one more piece to close.
Sweet. Show us your piece.
So all right.
Oh.
So there was also an article that came out on TheVerge.com, and essentially they had interviewed, what I'm assuming, or they had gathered some of this information just 2 days ago about Star Fox 2 and how this thing was getting off the ground and the journey that it took and the journey of his team, which is very interesting. The last piece of the article, and again, this all goes to TheVerge.com, but for getting this information. But the last piece of the article was that Dylan's words were, we should be in the Guinness World Records for having the game the longest completion to release time that there ever was, which I totally agree. Essentially, what I would categorize that as is to put Star Fox 2 into the Guinness World Record books for the longest pre-release ever. So us here at the Brewmasters Club podcast, Craft Brews and Geek News, actually did make a change.org for that. So we are petitioning the Guinness Book of World Records to put Star Fox 2 into the Guinness Book of World Records as the longest pre-released game ever. So if you want to support the cause, please visit our Twitter. Again, that's at Brewmasters Club. And we'll start a hashtag for this too, but you can find it by using hashtag Brewmasters Club Cast to find it. But essentially, sign up and let's, if we can get 98 signatures, we'll reach 100, then we'll set a new goal. Every milestone that we make gets us a little bit closer to actually getting this in front of someone. So we'll see. But I fully support it. I think it's a cool cause. I've already talked to our good buddy John Stratman, and that's Stratmaster J on Twitter if you want to talk to him. He's going to help us out with some 8-bit graphics for this. He does a lot of cool stuff. He does the Joe Blow 8-bit trailers that everyone comes out for every Marvel game or everything like that. But he's totally on board for helping us out with this, making this a little graphic pop or something here to support the cause. So he's in on it. Everybody here is very stoked about it. If nothing else, the SNES, I hope that it's easy to get, and I'm sure it won't be.
Well, yeah, the day it comes out, you just keep refreshing that page of where you're trying to buy it from.
That's essentially all you can do.
We need to take the day off.
Yeah, right.
Well,
apparently, people in Australia were already able to pre-register. The UK has already been able to pre-register for it. It's got to happen. Like, it's probably going to happen tonight at midnight or something. I don't know, but you can't pre-order it just yet. I don't think. I don't know. But every waking moment, I'll be sitting on. You fucking got me again, Nintendo. Like you just had to. You just had to get me again, right? Like, back on board. Not only do I have a NES Classic in my house, but now I've got to have one of these goddamn things, which I have. I have a fully working Super Nintendo in my drawer, next to my TV, that has most of these games that are coming out for it.
You've also got a Switch, just
That's
FYI.
True. Which, yeah, FYI, all of these goddamn games are going to come out for Switch. Every single one of them will come out when they launch this virtual console for the Switch. Every single one of them will be out there. So I'm a madman. I just don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand. But that's all I had. I feel like I have to.
Yeah. Just for Star Fox 2, though.
I know. I just feel like
I got you again because you did it just for Zelda.
I know.
Oh, they got you.
Whatever, they got you for Zelda 2.
Whatever, man. Fuck up.
Whatever, man. All right. Well, we said this was going to be not a long one. Where can the good people find you boys? Mr. Dano, where can they get you?
On Twitter at DT Mirt.
It's all on Twitter. Twitter is the bane of my existence.
or Facebook, whatever. You can't find me
Right.
on Facebook, though. You'll never find me.
Oh, Jesus. Louse Man, where can they find you?
At Mr. Lousman.
Yeah, hit me up there.
Hey,
Nope,
where
I'm
can
there
we find
too.
you, Donnie?
Yeah.
They can find me, as I mentioned 3 or 4 times already in this podcast, at Brewmasters Club or hashtag Brewmasters Club Cast. Again, if you want to sign up exclusively by using our link, by our exclusive link, you can use it.
Are you doing some sort of VR right now? Like what?
No, I'm scrolling. I'm doing too many things at once. If you
Now
want
you're
to,
just showing off.
Yeah,
if you wanna
really just big dick
if
out.
you want to,
Go ahead, bro.
and if you want to sign up by using our exclusive Brewmasters Club link, it is simply snes.brewmasters.club. You click that link, you sign up, you buy your SNES Classic, and guess what? As we
You're
always
cool.
say, you're very cool because somehow each purchase that you make through that link comes back to us somehow. The wizards at Amazon will give us a small commission of anything you purchase by using that link, so please just use the damn link.
Please.
Please.
Daddy needs to eat.
Daddy needs a new SNES Classic Mini. That's what Daddy needs.
Daddy needs a few things.
So use that link.
Buddy.
Just use that link. And then come see us when we do our live gig, which I promise is coming very soon. I don't know if it's going to be Vario, but it's definitely coming soon. Lousman, as we say every night,
You'll never find me.
You've been listening to the official podcast of the Brewmasters Club, Craft Brews and Geek News. Grab a beer with the guys and be sure to subscribe to catch additional content. Add this podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. Chat with the guys on Twitter at Brewmasters Club and Facebook and online at www.brewmasters.club. Cheers!